Carl Edwards, one of NASCAR's most celebrated drivers, recently made headlines. After years of silence following his abrupt retirement in 2017, Edwards is making a shocking return to NASCAR. Not as a driver, but as a broadcast analyst for Amazon Prime's coverage in 2025. This unexpected comeback marks a significant shift for a man who completely disappeared from the sport at the height of his career. Edwards built an impressive record throughout his 13-year NASCAR career, accumulating 72 victories, with 28 in the Cup Series. His racing achievements include winning prestigious events like the Coca-Cola 600 and Southern 500 in 2003, 2015, recently inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Edwards has finally revealed the true reasons behind his sudden departure and why he's chosen to return now. When Carl Edwards announced his retirement in early 2017, the NASCAR world was caught completely off guard. At just 37 years old and coming off one of his strongest seasons, Edwards walked away from the sport with little explanation. The timing was particularly puzzling. He had nearly won the Cup Series championship just weeks earlier at Homestead Miami Speedway. Many racing analysts speculated about the reason. Some thought it might have been frustration over his championship losses, particularly the heartbreaking tiebreaker defeat to Tony Stewart in 2011 and the controversial ending to the 2016 season. Others wondered if health concerns or disagreements with his team played a role. Edwards provided minimal explanation at the time, leading to years of speculation. His complete absence from the racing scene only deepened the mystery. Unlike most retired drivers who transition to broadcasting, sponsorship roles, or team ownership, Edwards essentially vanished from NASCAR entirely. The final race of Edwards' career provides critical context for understanding his departure. At Homestead Miami Speedway in 2016, Edwards was leading the championship race with just 15 laps remaining. Victory seemed within reach when fate intervened. A caution flag flew when a brake rotor detached from Dylan Lupton's car. This late race yellow flag bunched up the field and set up a restart that would prove disastrous for Edwards. On the restart, Edwards attempted to block Joey Logano, resulting in contact that sent Edwards' car hard into the inside wall before it spun back onto the track, collecting several other vehicles. In an instant, Edwards went from likely champion to watching from the infield care center as Jimmy Johnson went on to win his 7th championship. Just 2 months after this devastating loss, Edwards announced his retirement. After years of speculation, Edwards has finally shared the real motivation behind his sudden exit in an interview on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s podcast, The Dale Jr. Download. Edwards revealed that his decision centered on something deeply personal. His family. "My family, nobody else is going to take my role there," Edwards explained during his Hall of Fame induction. The demands of NASCAR's grueling schedule made it nearly impossible for him to be the father and husband he wanted to be. In his conversation with Dale Jr., Edwards expressed how difficult it was to communicate this priority shift to fans and colleagues. "It was so strange, and I felt embarrassed about telling people, well, really, I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to be a good husband." I mean, they would look at me like, okay.
The hell are you talking about? You're not racing.
Right,
And
yeah.
it was so strange, and I felt embarrassed about telling people, well, really, I'm trying to be a good dad. I'm trying to be a good husband. I mean, they would look at me like, okay.
The racing culture, which celebrates sacrifice and dedication to the sport above all else, made Edwards uncomfortable expressing that he simply wanted to prioritize his family over his career. This reluctance to share his true motivation contributed to the mystery surrounding his departure. Edwards shared a particularly moving anecdote that confirmed his decision was the right one. After retiring, Edwards experienced a moment of clarity with his young son that validated his choice. Edwards married his childhood sweetheart, Catherine Downey, in 2009. They have 2 children, a daughter born in 2010 and a son born in 2011 by leaving NASCAR. Edwards gained irreplaceable time with his young family during their formative years. Transitioning from the fast-paced world of NASCAR to civilian life wasn't easy for Edwards. He described feeling lost during the first few months of retirement. "I was really a little bit lost. I would go places, go into a room. How's your season going? I'm like, I'm not racing anymore. Then they look at you and like, what the hell are you talking about? You're not racing."
My head's spinning. I can't even imagine I'm not in that car. And so shut it off, and I was really a little bit lost. I would go places and go into a room where the year before I'd walked in the room and everybody said, "Oh, it's Carl, man, I watched the race. How's everything going? What you got next?" And I always felt real comfortable because it was like, well, we're getting ready for Darlington, or we're getting ready. And I mean, people for years would be like, "How's your season going?" I'm like, "I'm not racing anymore." And then they looked like,
Edwards even struggled to watch races initially. Along with this transition, Edwards underwent a personal transformation. His perspective on life shifted dramatically. He said, "I was wrestling with some things like this at the time. I was living something that wasn't my plan. I worked so hard my whole life and felt like I deserved to win this thing, and it was taken away from me. What I realized is that there was a bigger plan than mine, and all that stuff played out just perfectly." After making what he called a very clean break from NASCAR, Edwards is now making a surprising comeback. Amazon Prime has announced that the 45-year-old will join their broadcast team as a pre- and post-race analyst for 5 Cup Series races in 2025, beginning with the Coca-Cola 600 on May 25th. Edwards will be part of an all-star broadcasting lineup that includes host Danielle Trotta, NASCAR driver Corey LaJoie, play-by-play announcer Adam Alexander, and race analysts Steve Latarte and Dale Earnhardt Jr. The pit reporting team features Kim Kuhn Marty Snyder and 2011 Daytona 500 winner Trevor Bayne. This return to the NASCAR fold represents a significant shift for a man who completely disappeared from the sport. The timing of Edwards' return raises questions. Why now? After nearly a decade away from the sport, several factors appear to have influenced his decision. First, his recent induction into the NASCAR Hall of Fame brought Edwards back into the spotlight. His heartfelt induction speech reconnected him with the NASCAR community and may have rekindled his love for the sport. Second, his children are now older. His son Michael is 14 and daughter Ann is 15 and have begun expressing curiosity about their father's racing career. Edwards explained, "My kids are kind of getting into racing. My family is asking questions about what my career was like. Maybe this will be cool." The limited nature of Amazon's offer was also appealing, as Edwards told SiriusXM NASCAR. "Because the way I walked away, I went cold turkey. I got a lot of calls. People say, 'Hey, come do this,' and I've said no to basically everything." Perhaps most importantly, Edwards found the right people to work with. The deal originated when Randy Fuller, former senior media relations manager for Joe Gibbs Racing, approached Edwards about Amazon's interest. Edwards decided to test the waters with what he called a Carl Edwards day. "We just basically ran around Columbia, Missouri and did my normal day. And I realized this is the family I want to be a part of. Cool people. They actually care about the sport. It's not about, suits and ties and sitting there talking about numbers. They just say, hey, we want to have some fun. We want to go to races. Let the fans enjoy it." And so that day, getting to spend with them, it just felt right. And that's why I'm doing it.